Palestinians continue to violently protest President Trump's now infamous decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. 4 Palestinians have been killed in fresh clashes over the weekend, including a Palestinian terrorist who stabbed an Israeli guard while wearing what appeared to be a suicide belt. The Israeli guard is now in stable condition. Though the turnout was much smaller than last weekend, thousands of Palestinians erupted into violence throughout the West Bank and the Gaza border with Israel. The Israeli army says shots were fired at the main instigators of the mobs in an effort to de-escalate the situation, and among those killed is a Gaza man who had no legs, confining him to a wheelchair since 2008.
الأخ أبو ثريا شعب منتصر إن شاء الله.
With Vice President Mike Pence's trip to the region set for this week, President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah party is urging the rioting to continue in protest of the VP's visit. Pence was originally scheduled to meet with Palestinian and Egyptian leaders to push Trump's forthcoming peace plan. But after Trump's controversial Jerusalem announcement, the Palestinians immediately canceled those talks, saying America's role as an impartial negotiator in the peace process has officially come to an end. Well, President Trump's deal for a peace plan between Israel and the Palestinians is still in the works, but a top official from the White House has just revealed one critical point we can expect to see. The White House says they, quote, cannot envision any situation under which the Western Wall would not be part of Israel. ILTV's Aaron Porce joins me in the studio now with more. Now, Aaron, what does this announcement mean for the peace process?
So, it could mean a few different things. On the one hand, you have for the Palestinians, for the Palestinian Authority, they think that this is a major blow, that they're losing more and more ground going into negotiations, especially because the Kotel, or the Western Wall, is located technically in East Jerusalem. On the other hand, you have the Israeli side who says, Jerusalem was always non-negotiable, first of all, and the Palestinians haven't come to the negotiating table in years anyhow, so it changes nothing. And then you have yet another kind of perspective from the Palestinian side, saying the United States is no longer a peace partner anyway after this recent move, after Trump's recent decision in Jerusalem. So it changes nothing on their perspective either. Right. But it's very complicated, but I'll talk a little bit more about it right now in my report.
The official has clarified that final sovereignty and boundaries will of course be up to Israel and the Palestinians to decide for themselves. There isn't even a peace plan on the table yet, but these words, much like President Trump's bombshell recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, has pushed the Palestinians far from the table. President Mahmoud Abbas's Palestinian Authority has rejected these comments claiming the Western Wall for Israel. That's because the Kotel, along with the rest of the Old City and the Temple Mount, is in East Jerusalem, where the Palestinians hope to have their capital for a future state. The Western Wall, also known as the Kotel, is the second holiest site in Judaism, second to Har HaBayit, or the Temple Mount. But Palestinians argue that East Jerusalem, which Israel liberated in the 1967 war, is disputed, occupied territory. But as this White House official points out, no matter what the Palestinians claim, quote, we cannot imagine Israel would sign a peace agreement that didn't include the Western Wall, end quote.
Well, the United Nations is considering a new resolution on Jerusalem, one which would officially rescind President Trump's controversial decision to recognize the city as the capital of Israel. Now, Egypt has already submitted a draft to the Council, and an emergency vote could happen as early as next week. Such a vote would likely gather huge support in the United Nations. That's because the vast majority of countries and their leaders have publicly denounced Trump's now infamous speech and his promise to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Palestinian communities and advocates in Indonesia, Algeria, and Brazil have just held fresh rallies against the decision.
Nenhum país do mundo apoiou a decisão do Trump. Então nós, o povo brasileiro, estamos reafirmando que Jerusalém é a capital da Palestina.
Amidst the unrest, 2 Danish nationals have just been stabbed in the African country of Gabon. Their attacker is a Nigerian national who says he carried out the attack in retaliation for U.S. attacks against Muslims and America's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Though the recognition has received praise from Israeli leaders, European nations are nearly unanimous in their condemnation. Protests in Germany took an especially dark turn last week when anti-Semitic symbols, slogans, and chants surfaced at rallies. The German government says that although it disagrees with Trump's decision, it doesn't excuse anti-Semitism.
Dass die einseitige Anerkennung Jerusalems als Hauptstadt einen Beitrag zum friedlicheren Nahen Osten leistet, daran kann man mit guten Gründen zweifeln. Die Position Deutschlands dazu ist bekannt und ich denke, meine auch. Aber das rechtfertigt keinen Hass gegen Israel und keine Herabwürdigung unserer jüdischen Bürgerinnen und Bürger auf Deutschlands Straßen und Plätzen.
If such a resolution does come down to a UN vote, the United States would almost certainly exercise its veto and cancel the vote altogether. But clearly this is an issue that isn't going anywhere anytime soon.